Y'all, what I'm about to tell you will shake you to your core. Like, I've covered a lot of wild stories, scandals, and betrayals in this industry, but this right here, this ain't just gossip. This ain't just tea. This is soul-shattering. Because what I found out about Kendrick Lamar, yes, King Kendrick Pulitzer Prize winning. All right, anthem, chanting. I love myself, K-Dot, literally made me break down in tears. Now look, Kendrick always been that mystery. Man in hip-hop, quiet, private. He ain't one of these rappers out here flashing every little thing. But baby, what's been going on behind that silence? Oh, it's deep. Like generational trauma, hidden betrayals, unspoken truths, the kind of stuff they don't put in lyrics, the kind of stuff that don't make the album, but it makes the man. And I'ma just say it now, when I got to the bottom of this story, it changed me. For real. I don't even look at life the same. Fans are shocked. Industry insiders are whispering. And Kendrick's own family, CHOAS, you are not ready for what's about to be exposed. Buckle up, because this is more than a story, this is a revelation. So, boom. It all started with a random clip that barely had 100 views. I wasn't even looking for Kendrick news that day. I was on a late-night deep dive, falling down them YouTube rabbit holes, clicking on obscure interviews and half-baked conspiracy theories. And that's when I found it. A podcast episode posted 6 months ago, titled "The Cousin No One Talks About: My Truth About Kendrick Lamar." At first, I thought it was just another clout chaser token nonsense, trying to ride Kendrick's name for clicks. But the voice was familiar. Calm, low-key, but cracked at certain words. Emotional. This wasn't no random. This was someone close. And then he said the name, I'm Jaleel. Kendrick's first cousin on his mom's side, y'all. My heart stopped. I turned the volume up and sat straight up in bed. The next hour of my life, I was frozen. Jahlil started talking about growing up in Compton, saying how the family used to be tight before the fame. He said Kendrick always had a different energy, like he knew he was destined for something big. But then he dropped the first bomb. Everything changed after Good Kid D City. Kendrick cut off almost the whole family. That's when I knew this wasn't just a hater rant. Something happened. Something deep. He said Kendrick's rise to fame wasn't as clean and conscious as the public thinks. He claimed there was a family secret, a deal that got made, and somebody paid the price. I was the one he used to call when he needed to vent, Jaleel said. But after he blew up, it's like I didn't exist no more. Like I was part of the old life he was trying to erase. Then came the twist that started to break me. Jaleel said there was a night, a very specific night in 2012, days before Good Kid D City dropped. The whole family had a get-together, a cookout. Kendrick came through low-key as always, headphones around his neck, not talking much. But around midnight, Jaleel and Kendrick's uncle got into it. Loud over money. Over a loan that went unpaid. And that argument? It got physical. Kendrick ain't even jumping to break it up, Jaleel said, voice trembling. He just watched. Cold. Like he already knew what was about to happen. I paused the video right there. Because what Jaleel said next was too much to process in one sitting. Apparently. The Uncle Darren ended up in the hospital that night. No charges got filed, but the family never recovered. Folks took sides. Aunties stopped speaking. Cousins unfollowed each other. It was like the family cracked right down the middle. And Kendrick. He ghosted everybody. No calls, no explanations. He moved different after that. Like he cut the last tie to his old life. But it don't stop there. Jahlil claimed that some of the lyrics on Good Kid D City were actually inspired by that night. He said when you hear him talking about betrayal and pain on that album, that's not just street stuff. That's family. That's us. He even quoted a bar from Sing About Me. I'm dying of thirst and said that line about, I heard you got some new homies, got you feeling lonely. That's me. That's how he made me feel. At this point, I was crying FR. I felt that. The pain of someone you love changing on you. The grief of watching somebody you grew up with become a stranger. It wasn't just a story anymore. It was a mirror. But just when I thought that was the climax, the podcast took another wild turn. Jahlil said he recently found out about a document, some kind of NDA signed by certain family members back in 2015. It was tied to a personal development fund that Kendrick allegedly set up. But the catch, anyone who took the money had to stay silent. No interviews, no books, no spilling any stories that might damage the brand. He said he refused to sign, called it hush money. And ever since then, he's been iced out completely. Weddings he wasn't invited to. Birthdays he didn't even know happened. He said he once saw Kendrick in traffic, rolled down the window, and yelled out, "Yo, Kadat!" And Kendrick turned his head and drove off. Y'all. This wasn't just celebrity drama. This was generational heartbreak. And then the last few minutes of the podcast, that's when the tears really hit. Jalil started talking about their childhood, about how they used to write raps together on a broken down notebook with no front cover, how Kendrick used to ask him for feedback, begging him to be honest, how they dreamed of macking it out the hood together. But I guess only one of us got the map, Jalil said, and the other one got left behind. The podcast ended with him whispering, barely audible, "I still love you, Kenny, but you hurt us." I sat there for a good 10 minutes after it ended, just silent, replaying it in my head. And that's when the journalist in me kicked in. I needed receipts. Proof. Was this real? So I started digging. And what I found next only made things more complicated. I started pulling receipts like a detective on a deadline. I searched everything: Reddit threads, old Facebook posts, family tree websites, even obituaries from Compton, trying to trace any mention of Jalil connected to Kendrick Lamar's real family. And y'all, it ain't take long before stuff started click in single quotes. First, I found an old photo from 2009, a blurry group shot from what looked like a backyard cookout. And there, sitting on a milk crate next to a young Kendrick, was a dude with cornrows and a teed hoodie. The caption said, "Summer Fam Jam, Jalil and Kenny Wildin, as usual." No blue check, no fame. Just real, raw, before the world knew the name K. But what really got me was the comments under the post. One auntie commented, "Miss, y'all back when we was tight? Before the money." Another said, "Things changed after that one night." SMH. It was subtle, but it lined up. People ain't always say things directly online, especially in Black families. But if you know, you know. The shade was loud. The shade was loud. Next, I dug into the alleged NDA. Now, I couldn't find the actual document, obviously. But I did find a tweet from 2015 by someone named Tia Lamar, one of Kendrick's distant cousins on his dad's side. She tweeted, "I ain't signing no damn papers just to stay quiet. I was there too." Then the tweet vanished a few days later. Account deactivated, gone. But screenshots live forever. And some Twitter sleuth had archived it then. Boom, another puzzle piece fell into place. A forum post from 2018, titled, "Why Did Kendrick Stop Showing Love to His Day Ones?" Someone posted, "Yo, remember his cousin Jalil? That dude used to always be in early vlogs. Now he gone, completely erased." And y'all, they dropped links to old YouTube videos now deleted that had Jalil in the background, hyping Kendrick up in ciphers. My chest got tight. The silence started making sense. Jalil wasn't some random cloud chaser. He was erased. Written out the story. And the deeper I looked, the more it felt intentional, curated. Like Kendrick had decided who was allowed in his narrative and who wasn't. But here's where it gets crazy. I reached out to a former engineer who worked on Kendrick's early mixtapes back when he was still KDOT. I won't say his name, but let's call him D. I messaged him on Instagram, real respectful, just ask him if he remembered anyone named Jalil from back in the day. His reply, 3 words, Yeah. What happened? I told him about the podcast and how emotional it was. And his next message gave me chills. Bro was there day one. Wrote hooks. Gave feedback. Kept K's head straight. But something went left. They don't talk about him anymore. Whole crew got weird about it. Like it's forbidden. I asked him if Jaleel helped write any actual songs. And y'all, he sent me a voice note. Low, scratchy, like he ain't wanna be recorded. He said there was this one song never made the album. It was called Fatherless Prayers. Jaleel co-wrote it. I remember. But they shelved it after the fight at the cookout. That's when I had to sit down. Fatherless Prayers. That title alone felt heavy. Buried songs. Buried memories. The pieces were starting to form a picture, and it wasn't pretty. And then I got a DM that flipped the whole story on its head. A woman named Mariah, who claimed to be Jolly's ex-girlfriend from back in the day, hit me up after she saw my Instagram story about digging into Kendrick. She said, if you really want to know the truth, you gotta understand the other side. Jaleel wasn't just a victim. He had his demons too. I was like, wait, what? She agreed to talk off record. No video, no audio. Just messages. She said Jaleel had been struggling with addiction back in 2011 to 2013. Mostly pills. Said he was always trying to keep up with Kendrick. But when K-Dot started getting traction, Jaleel spiraled. He felt left behind, she said. And it hurt him. But he also started acting out. Angry, paranoid. And then she dropped a bomb of her own. There was a rumor that Jaleel tried to leak an early version of the album. Pause. Hold up, what? She said it never got proven. But word on the street was Jaleel had a copy of an early demo version of Good Kid M.A.A.D City, back when it was still being mixed. Allegedly, he tried to send it to someone at a blog out of spite, out of pain. Maybe out of a cry for help. Kendrick found out, she said. He didn't yell, didn't fight. He just stopped answering forever. Now, I didn't know what to believe. Jolly's version had me crying. Mariah's version had me conflicted. What if both were true? What if this wasn't a hero versus villain story, but just two broken men trying to survive? And then came the final twist of the night. I posted a short TikTok about the story, just a teaser, saying, what if the real story behind Kendrick's silence ain't about privacy, but pain? It went viral in an hour. And then a verified account slid into the comments. Top Dog Entertainment. They didn't say much. Just commented the eyeball emoji and then deleted it 20 minutes later. Fans caught it though. Screenshots exploded. Reddit went wild. They watching people said, this ain't just drama no more. This story's got truth. And that's when the DMs started flooding. People from Compton, ex-associates, even someone who claimed to be an old TEED intern. They all had pieces, fragments, and one message stuck with me the most. Kendrick, don't talk about it. But that night broke him too. He just buried it better. At this point, my whole perception of Kendrick was shifting. Not in a negative way, but in a human way. This wasn't the flawless, conscious king we all idolize. This was a man who's been carrying wounds we ain't never seen. And maybe some of that silence we judged him for was really just grief. But we still ain't reached the peak of this story. Because what happened next brought the past right back to the present. After that TEED comment went viral and fans started dissecting every lyric Kendrick ever spit, things got real. Real messy, real public, real fast. And out of nowhere, people who'd been silent for years started speaking up. The story wasn't just whispers in the background anymore. It was front stage, front row, center spotlight. Then came the night that changed everything. Kendrick was in La, pulling up to a private industry event. Low-key, invite only, not even on the blogs yet. It was supposed to be a celebration for the anniversary of To Pimp a Butterfly. Folks like Shaw, J-Rock, Schoolboy Q, they was all in the building. Smooth vibes, champagne flowing, music industry royalty everywhere. But outside that event, that's where it went left. Cameras caught a man outside the venue, hoodie on, standing in the cut, looking nervous but determined. And fans instantly recognized him. It was Jahlil. Nobody knew how he got there. No wristband, no security clearance, not even on the list. But somehow, someway, he made it to that sidewalk just outside them velvet ropes. And then boom, Kendrick arrives. Black SUV, dark shades. Classic Kendrick move. But what ain't classic? What happened next? As Kendrick stepped out the car, Jaleel walked forward. Not Russian, not wildin.com, but emotional. Cameras caught it all. No audio, but the body language was screaming. You could see Jaleel mouthing something. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. Please, Kenny. Kendrick froze, straight up. Stood still, staring at Jaleel like he'd seen a ghost. The silence between them was heavy. Security started moving in, but Kendrick held his hand up. He didn't say a word, just shook his head slowly, turned around, and walked away. Fans online lost it. The clip hit Twitter in seconds. Kendrick just curved his own blood on camera. What happened between them, FR? Why he looked so hurt? And it was all anyone could talk about for the next 48 hours. But the wildest part? Jaleel posted a video that same night. Not a rant, not a diss, just a voice memo over a black screen. And what he said had folks crying, rethinking everything. I didn't come to fight. I didn't come to beg. I came for closure. You ain't gotta forgive me, Kenny. You ain't even gotta love me. But you could have looked me in the eye and told me why. He paused. Long silence. Then added, you write verses about pain, but you ain't ready to face your own. I ain't even gonna lie. That line sat in my chest like a brick. But the story still wasn't over. The next day, an anonymous email landed in my inbox. No name, no subject, just a link. It led to a private SoundCloud track, unreleased, untagged, and definitely not meant for the public. The title, Fatherless Prayers Demo. Yes, the same title the former engineer told me about. My hands started shaking as I hit play. And y'all, the track. Haunting, raw, stripped down. Just a simple piano loop, no drums. Kendrick's voice younger, more vulnerable, and another voice layered in the background. Doing harmonies, it was Jahlil, the lyrics. I watched the ones I love become ghosts with phones, token loud, but never calling home. You prayed for fame. I prayed for peace, you found stages, I found the streets. 'Twas like hearing both their hearts on one beat. Pain on pain. Love twisted in silence. I didn't know whether to post it or protect it. But by then, someone else had already leaked it. The track went viral on Twitter within hours. Fans debated whether it was real, but folks who know Kendrick's voice, they knew this wasn't fan-made. This was history. And then, Kendrick broke his silence, not in an interview, not on Instagram, but on stage at a surprise show in Oakland. Just a few days after the leak, Kendrick paused mid-set. The lights went low. Crowd fell quiet. And then he said, there's pain I don't rap about. Some things don't belong in a verse. Pause. But pain don't disappear just because you don't write it down. He didn't say Jalil's name, didn't mention the song, but everyone felt it. You could hear the hurt in his voice. He ain't cry, but you knew. He wanted to. After that, a journalist asked him backstage if he'd ever reconnect with his cousin. And Kendrick's response, sometimes love ain't enough to fix what's been broken. But I still got love, man. That sentence alone sent shockwaves through the fanbase. And then, as if this whole saga hadn't already hit every nerve, guess who went live on Instagram the next day? Jolly's mama. Yes, Auntie Denise. The one who raised both boys together when their parents were hustling. The woman who called them her two sons. And baby, she had words. Tears in her eyes, voice shaken. She said, I don't care who famous and who not. Them boys loved each other. Something broke them apart, but it ain't too late. Not while God still got breath in they bodies. She begged Kendrick to reach out. Said she'd cook a whole Sunday dinner if it meant bringing M back together. I'll make them yams y'all used to fight over. Just come home, baby. Both of y'all. And y'all. Fans started posting the clip everywhere with the hashtag #JAHLIL. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all flooded with love and pressure. Fans were saying, Kendrick, we love you, but closure matters. Real ones make amends, even when it hurts. Call your cousin K-Dot. And just when things seemed like they might finally soften, the final twist dropped. One that would shake not just Kendrick's family, but his legacy. So just when it felt like things were coming to a head, fans rallying, Auntie Denise crying on live. That unreleased track touching millions of people who never even knew Jaleel existed. Boom. The real bomb dropped. It started with a leak. Not a song, not a video, but a set of court documents. Someone to this day, we don't know who, sent files to a gossip site known for exposing the darkest secrets in the entertainment industry. And at first glance, it looked like regular legal talk. Pages and pages of NDA language, family trust paperwork, and internal TED memos. Boring, right? But one paragraph stood out. And once it hit Twitter, everything exploded. Turns out, back in 2016, there was an emergency mediation between Kendrick's legal team and two unnamed members of his extended family. The subject: a financial agreement gone bad. Allegedly, Kendrick had promised to fund a community youth center in Compton, one tied to his roots, something symbolic. But here's the gag. That youth center. It was Jaleel's idea. The docs show that Jaleel had proposed the project years before. He even drafted the plans, found the lot, got signatures from local leaders, and Kendrick's team initially backed it on paper. But right before things could move forward, the deal was shut down, abruptly. And according to the leak, Jaleel was cut out completely. The memo said the reason was brand conflict. I had to read that twice. Brand conflict. You mean to tell me this man who helped inspire your bars stood by you in your come-up? Wanted to build something real for the city, got sidelined because his presence didn't match the image. And the worst part? The youth center never happened. The lot's still empty. Grass growing wild. Dreams dried up. Fans were devastated. Timelines were flooded with heartbreak. This ain't the Kendrick we know. Say it ain't true. Tell us this is fake. But then, Jaleel posted again. This time, no voice notes. No black screen. Just a photo. Him standing on that empty lot, holding the original blueprints. Caption said, I forgave him a long time ago. Just wish he'd said, thank you, man. That broke me. The internet went quiet for a minute. Not even the trolls could keep token. The weight of it all, the missed chances, the silence, the secrets. It was heavy. And just when you thought this was going to end with more heartbreak, something beautiful happened. Heartbreak. Something beautiful happened. Out of nowhere, a flyer started circulating online. No logos, no names. Just a simple message. Family healing session, Compton Park, this Sunday. Folks were confused at first, but then word spread. Auntie Denise was behind it, and yes, both Kendrick and Jaleel were invited. No press, no cameras, just a barbecue, some folding chairs, the hope that maybe after all these years, the silence could be broken. The day came, and people showed up. Neighbors, old heads, young kids, even some folks from TED, low-key in the crowd. Everybody looking around like, he gone, come. And then Kendrick pulled up. No security, no entourage, just him, hoodie on, hat low, eyes red. And a few minutes later, Jaleel arrived to y'all. That moment, indescribable. The crowd ain't cheer. They ain't scream. It was silent. All eyes on them, two men, walking toward each other slow like a movie scene. And when they finally stood face to face, they hugged long, tight years in that hug. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, grown men were crying. Auntie Denise grabbed a mic, not for a speech, but for a prayer. She said, I don't care who right or who wrong. I just thank God they still here, together, And after that, they talked. No interviews, no microphones. Just two cousins sitting on a bench, laughing and crying like time ain't even passed. Now look, they ain't announced no album, no collab, no youth center yet. But sometimes the real healing ain't in the headlines. It's in the quiet. And in that moment, Kendrick Lamar wasn't a legend, wasn't a Pulitzer Prize winner, wasn't the face of conscious rap. He was just Kenny from around the way, mackin' peace with the first person who ever believed in his dream, the fans. They rallied behind it. The hashtag changed from hashtag call JAHLIL to hashtag thank you JAHLIL. People posted their own family stories, reconnecting with estranged cousins and siblings they hadn't talked to in years. That one moment sparked real-life healing for folks all over the country. And Jaleel, he disappeared again. Deleted his socials. No clout moves, no merch, just peace. Kendrick's next performance. He dedicated a whole verse to those who helped build the dream, even when they ain't get to live inside it. No names, no drama, just respect. And that's what made this story so powerful. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean. But it was real. Two men carrying scars, choosing to show up anyway. So now you know the full story. Or at least the version that finally came to light. A cousin erased. A bond broken. A dream deferred. And in the middle of it all, one of the greatest rappers alive carrying a silence that spoke louder than his loudest verse. What started as a mysterious podcast from an unheard voice turned into a journey through pain, pride, loyalty, and ultimately forgiveness. This wasn't just rap drama. This wasn't just family mess. This was real life. And it showed us that no matter how successful you get, no matter how far you rise, your past still lives inside you. It don't fade just 'cause the cameras start rolling. It don't die just 'cause the fans scream your name. Jaleel ain't asked for fame. He asked for closure. And sometimes, that's the most powerful thing a person can ask for. Not revenge, not a platform, just a moment to be seen, to be heard, to be remembered. And for Kendrick, this might not be the story he wanted told, but maybe it's the one that needed to be told. So now I gotta ask you, what would you do if you had a chance to reconnect with somebody you lost touch with? Would you pick up the phone? Pull up to the cookout? Or would pride keep you silent? Drop a comment and let me know how this story hit you. Were you shocked? Did you cry? Did you feel that lump in your chest like I did? Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you're rockin' with the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next drop. We got more real stories, more truth behind the fame, and you already know we keep it raw every time. Until next time, stay woke, stay solid, and maybe make that call. Make that call.